So, like, last week at work, I remembered that Pokemon Day was coming up, and so I looked up when it was, and I realized that I missed it by, like, a day. So I decided to look up what they revealed, and lo and behold, I completely missed their Gen 9 announcement. The funny thing is, I actually saw the starter Pokemon in, like, a thumbnail of a video, like, the day before I learned that they were real, and I thought they were Fakeamon. I don't know if that speaks to how good or bad their new designs are, or how good the Fakemon community has gotten about making fake Pokemon. But anyways, so for those of you who don't know, which is probably no one since I'm so late to the party, the new starters are Sprigatito, Fuecoco, and Quaxly. And although it took me a little bit to warm up to them, I think I really like them now that I know they're like design inspirations. And the good thing is that at this point, since everyone and their mother has been doing in-depth research into the possible origins of these starter Pokemon, I didn't have to. So, as you can probably tell if you've watched this channel before, or more likely if you've been a fan of Pokemon for more than like 3 years, then you can probably tell what this video is going to be about. So let's speculate on the evolutions of these starter Pokemon for Gen 9. Let's go in Pokedex order and start with Sprigatito, the grass starter. For each new starter Pokemon, they have some really well thought out names, as each of them have some sort of relation to the Spanish language, as the new region will be based on Spain. And Portugal, but don't worry about that. Sprigatito combines the words sprig and catito, the later of which means small cat in Spanish. The most likely inspiration for Sprigatito is the lynx, which is a semi-common animal found on the Iberian Peninsula. That makes my job a little easier for a few reasons, the main of which is because we already have a lynx Pokemon and kind of know where Nintendo went with that one. Another idea is that all of the starters may be related in some way to the Spanish flag, and that Sprigatito may eventually become a lion. And these are all really good ideas, but what about typing? To be honest, the lion, as I believe it, will most likely probably remain a monotype, as all of the last gen starters were. But to make it a little more interesting, I opted to give it a secondary typing. Most people say it's going to be Grass Fairy because, oh, I don't know, it's got some pink in it, but I personally think that that's kind of a weak reason to give something a fairy typing. Well, I wouldn't put it past Nintendo at this point. Instead, I thought giving it the secondary Psychic typing would be actually more appropriate. With all this in mind, I began designing the two evolutions. For the second form of Sprigatito, it was pretty simple. I carried over the exact color palette and changed the body plan to lean towards the lynx part of the inspiration, and changed its face and tail to be more closely in shape to resemble a lynx, and also to get it closer to the lion that it would eventually become in its final form. I used a similar naming convention to what the Pokemon Company did. I combined the Spanish words for bush and cat into Arbogata, something that I think might be close to what they'll actually go for in the future. The final form, the Inifleur, is, yes, a lion. So I personally don't think that Nintendo will be going the lion route, and neither do I think people are going to in their predictions. I really don't know though, because I've been refraining from looking at other predictions as I wanted these to be more original. I've formed its mane in a kind of way to vaguely resemble a sunflower, and I also gave it a crown and some gold and kind of royal looking markings. Editor's note: I completely forgot to explain why I gave it the Psychic typing. When I wrote the script, I just didn't include it. That is in reference to the, I believe, Japanese myth that lynx could, like, see through walls. That's why Luxray, another lynx Pokemon, is called Luxray, because it's lynx X-ray. Yeah. Sorry about that. Our next starter to tackle is the Fire Croc Fuecoco. I love this thing. I think this is the first time ever that I've preferred a fire-type starter to the others. Honestly, I won't really know until we get the official evolutions, but for the time being, well, that's what I'm here for. Fuecoco's name is very well thought out. Fuego is fire in Spanish, and coco comes from the Spanish word for crocodile, cocodrillo. And although there are no crocodiles that call Spain home, The most common consensus is that Fuecoco is based on the Cucafaira? Ooh, I do not know if I'm pronouncing that right. A legend of a crocodile, turtle, dragon, ghost lady thing. Yeah, that's a lot, but thankfully that gives us a lot to go on. Combined with the skull imagery and the fact that its other inspiration may be a ghost pepper, the common consensus is that Fuecoco is going to become a fire and ghost type, or at least the consensus that I believe in. For the first evolution, I created a body type that closer resembled a more dragon, crocodile type body, and I made a mood board that included some of the dragon Pokemon designs from Subjectively's Maza region, because when I saw Fuecoco for the first time, I immediately thought of those. I kept the color palette and strayed away from the pepper shape. As if that truly is a hint towards the future typing, I find it hard to believe that they would keep that, as that shape kind of constricts what you can do with future designs. I expanded on the fire stem kind of hair part on its head, and began to develop them into a pretty cool shape. I also increased the brightness on these crests as I planned to expand more on them in the final form. Its name would be Cinderaco, from Cinder and Cocodrio. The final form that I made is one of my absolute favorites in this video. I say one of, because there's one that I like more. There's a ton of inspirations that I had for this, the main being, of course, the Cucafaira thing, I'm probably still not pronouncing that right, but also classic Mayan depictions of serpents. I posed it to be laying mouth open like a sunbathing crocodile, and used the color palette of Fuecoco in an honestly more effective way than I did on Cinderaco. To exemplify the ghost typing, I shifted the hues of the feather things on Fuecoco into the violet range to get a more ghostly feel, as it of course will be a fire and ghost type. I also, after some consideration, used more of the bone white, as I thought it looked more similar to Fuecoco than if I used black. Its name is something that I'm really super proud of. It would be Cocodraco, from the word Cocodrio and dragon, as the other big inspiration is that this idea is probably closely tied to European depictions of dragons. Finally, we have Quaxly, the duckling Pokemon, and I quite like the idea for this Pokemon too. Its name appears to stem from the words quack and auxiliary, and its design is probably inspired by classic depictions of sailors, and the species of duck called the pompadour duck. I didn't know these existed until now, but I love them so much. Look at that. That's amazing. That's the best thing ever.
You're breathtaking!
For the evolutions, I leaned more into that sailor idea, as very simply I think that more could be done with that concept. I took a lot of the design ideas from bird Pokemon like Swanna and Sirfetch'd, and can I just say for these last few names I was on a roll when I named them. This one would be called Quack Attack, which either sounds really dumb, if you're not like me, or really cool, if you are. Finally, we have the last Pokemon of the video, Fowlery, from fowl like waterfowl, and artillery. Although Fowlery doesn't perfectly look like a duck, I absolutely love its design. It might just be my favorite Pokemon I've ever made, and I think I'm honestly doing a disservice to myself, as I like this version so much that when we inevitably get the different Quaxly evolution, I'll probably be pretty disappointed. To lean towards the military inspiration, its pompadour became a sailor hat, and it is saluting, as it will also gain the fighting type. Some people think it'll become a flying type, other people think it'll become a steel type, but I think fighting is most likely. If it'll gain a type at all. I don't really think it will. There are some unwritten rules in character design that I'm technically breaking here, mainly the scale thing, as bigger creatures should have smaller heads, but I don't really care. I love this thing so much. So these are my predictions for the Gen 9 starters. Tell me in the comments below what you think I got right, and most importantly, what you think they'll do different with the real ones. Don't worry, Pokepaint fans, although yes, these won't be in the Pokedex for the Trapor region, we'll be back with another episode next week or the week after. I won't leave you without your fix. So as always, if you liked this video and you want to see more like it, then subscribe, and turn on the bell to get notified when I upload next.